This is going to sound really terrible, but I don't like to talk about anything until it's actually financed, because I'm a little bit superstitious and I don't like them jinxed.
Well, what do you need, Richard?
Huh?
What do you need?
But what I can say is that one of the things I didn't like about coming to the end of Heartless was we didn't know what to do next. So what we've actually spent the last year and a half doing is raising the finance and developing 6 films at the same time. It's been very hard, but that's why it's taken twice as long. So when the next, we've got 2 filming before May, fingers crossed, and when those happen, then we know what we're doing next over the next 3 to 4 years. It's very important to have, and you can see a trajectory of the types of stories and the types of genres and the types of different people we want to work with. And so I've got a wonderful team at my production company, May 13, and we're just working very hard to get them in a line and get them going. And I'm very excited because, the most rewarding part of it is the doing of it. Everything else is complete bollocks. And and when you're actually, I worked so hard when I was younger to raise the money for a short film. It was about a 25-minute short film. It was 24 minutes too long, but I think... but I
remind you of anything?
Cut it down. But I remember the first day of when I walked onto the set and they were soaring. It was called The Bridge, and we built a bridge. And when they were soaring this bridge together, which is a colossal waste of money because I could have gone location, but anyway. And they were soaring this bridge together. When no one was looking, I just was, yes, motherfucker. I was so happy, and I realized that everything else was paled in comparison to the actual doing of it. And so I can't wait to start filming again. I'm very jealous of Jim. Jim's got, we've got the Peter Weir film, The Way Back, coming out in a few weeks, which is, I cannot wait to see that film. And I'm jealous because he keeps going from film to film to film, and I'm sitting in an office on the phone.
I think it comes out sometime end of December or beginning of January, I think. It's called The Way Back. Okay. Yeah, and it's a true story about these prisoners who escaped from a Soviet labor camp in the Second World War, and it's based off a book called The Long Walk, which is a really great book. But it's about these prisoners who basically escaped from this camp and walked on foot from Siberia to India, back to freedom in India. So it took them 17 months to walk through Siberia into Mongolia, only to discover that it was still communist ruled, and then they had to keep going into China, through the Gobi Desert, and then they reached Tibet, and then crossed the Himalayan mountains into India. Sorry?
When I was 15, my headmaster in school, you have a work experience. They put you on work experience for 2 weeks, and I love movies, and my headmaster at school put me for 2 weeks working at British Gas, to which I was like, fuck, no way. And I would always write to Pinewood Film Studios in just outside of London, which is where they made the original Batman and Superman and all the James Bond movies. And I would always write to them and ask permission to come and do work experience there, but I would never get a letter back. And then I read this story by Steven Spielberg on how he snuck into Universal, forgetting that was after his first film. So I said to my headmaster, they wrote back to me and they gave me 2 weeks work experience. Oh, fantastic. And he signed me off school. And my dad drove me to Pinewood, and he said, oh, do you want me to walk in with you? And I said, no, that's fine. And he drove off, and I walked up with my school uniform to the guard, and I had this whole elaborate lie plan to tell the security guard based on what Spielberg had done. And I walked up to the guard, and I was ready to tell him this story, and he just went, morning. I just walked in. And I did that every day for 2 weeks. Ended up getting a job on a film by Blake Edwards called Son of the Pink Panther, and never went back to school. David. And so it's just like, and it was always a dream. And I worked very, very hard and worked my way out. I worked for free as a PA, which in England we call a runner, and did that for many, many years. Worked on many feature films like Judge Dredd, Hamlet, Son of the Pink Panther, Shadowlands, Being Human by Bill Forsyth with Robin Williams that no one saw. And then would convince the crews that I was working with in the week to come to my house on the weekend, and I befriended Panavision, and they gave me some 16mm and 35mm cameras, and we just kind of, started filming. And it's all about relationships and making genuine friends, and if people genuinely like you, they'll work hard for it, and that's how it all started, really. But when was your first? When was your first performance? I think you started very young.
Playing like a field mouse number 3 in Wind in the Willows or something like that. So that was, but it was like, it was, for me, it was just an excuse to kind of get out of school. You know, there was like, someone came to our school and said, you know, who wants to audition for the play? And we were like, you know, if it meant that we could cut out of class and then we all went for it. So yeah, I got a part in that, but then I didn't know then at all, and you know, it was just, but I knew that I liked it and I had a good time doing it. And but then I didn't really do much acting when I was younger. Then I started getting into music and stuff like that, really more than anything. And it was at a time when I had to sort of think about, all my friends were sort of going off to university and sort of disappearing. And so the band that I was in when I was maybe 15, 16 or whatever was, you know, came to an end, and my life had just been, I was like, what? Are we going to be in a band forever? And everyone was like, no, Jim, we're just not, you know. So yeah, they all sort of went to university, so I tried to find a course that I could do, and I really wanted to do it in the north of England in a town called Manchester, where all my sort of favourite bands came from. You know, bands like the Stone Roses and Joy Division and New Order and stuff like that. So I really moved to Manchester, and I took this course as a reason just to go to Manchester, and it was a course called Media Performance, and it was, you know, there was a bit of acting, but it was sort of video making and editing and boom operating and a kind of bit of everything. And it was around that time that I started getting in with a group of people who were interested in making films and acting, and so I really kind of got into that and sort of fell into that. And so then someone saw me in a play that I put on, and said, you should move back to London to, you know, try and get an agent and become an actor. So I moved back to London and then ended up joining a band. So I sort of moved to Manchester to join a band, ended up getting into acting, moved back to London to become an actor, and ended up joining a band. So I started playing music again, and then that band split up, and that's when I rocked up to the audition for Across the Universe. So that's sort of when it all sort of went from there, really.